Today I'm going to draft a half-scale dress form sloper. Sloper, half-scale. Either way, a sloper for a half-scale dress form. Half-scale so that, you can try things out. Proof of concept, do treatment tests to see which one works out without having to do it on, the full scale and using all those materials. So, half-scale. Drafting. Why am I drafting it out? Because my half-scale form isn't here right now. So I'm going to have to use measurements, from a standard size 6. That would be an industry standard size 6, which in real world is 2 or 4? I don't know. It's been a long time since I was a size 6, so couldn't tell you there. But anyhow, so I'm going to draft it half scale. I should probably mention, I hate drafting slopers. Hate it with a passion. I'd much prefer to drape the sloper if I have to do a sloper at all. I don't know that there's anybody out there that's doing the, I get to make a sloper, right? It's not the exciting thing. It's kind of like, needing a new roof on your house. It's really important, but there's no sex appeal there. But anyhow, there we go. So I'm going to draft it. I'm going to use standard measurements. And this is the first time I have drafted half scale, which theoretically shouldn't be that much different than drafting full scale. But we all know the difference between theory and reality are sometimes wildly different. So we're going to do this. It will help on the drafting. I found a little company that makes half-scale pattern tools. So I got a little half-scale French curve and a half-scale hip curve. I even got a L square. Why did I bother getting an L square one? Because they've put the full-size measurements on it. So theoretically, I wouldn't have to do any of the math to get my half-scale measurements. I've already done the math because math and I are not friends all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time. So anyhow, I have that. It's just a little bent, as you can see, but I'm figuring one hot day in Southern California and that'll take care of that one. But I'm very happy to try these out, and this is the first time I'm trying them out. So we shall see. Go, cute little thing. So, bottom of my sloper bodice waistline. Sometimes the brain just doesn't engage. Or am I the only one that has that problem? Yeah. Anyhow, there we go. So I need the full length of the sloper. Now, when we're talking about a sloper, we're talking about from your waist, which is actually a lot higher than you think it is, to all the way up here, where your shoulder meets your neck, not down here. This is a separate measurement. Why? Because, you need your shoulder to actually be up from the base of your neck, and you need your necklines to be down from the top of your shoulder. So we have 2 different measurements for that. That's why we do that one. So what do I have? On a full scale for this size 6, the full length would be 17 inches, so that's 8.5. I could do that one in my head. and a half. To the base of the neck is 14.5 minus 3/8. That's that little bit of ease that's built into a sloper. And when I say that there's a little bit of ease in a sloper, I mean there's a minute amount of ease. It's more so that you don't end up with your fabric stretched totally tight than actual movement ease. You would never want to wear a sloper. There's nothing, you can't breathe, you can't bend, you can't do anything. But anyhow, there we go. So 14.5 minus 3/8 gives me 14 1/8, and then half of that is 7 1/16. And we're pushing it there. 7 1/16, that's going to be the base of my neck. And I will square out a little bit because that's kind of the bottom of our neckline. 1/16, yeah. So as I'm doing all of these at half scale, I'm going to end up with a lot of 1/16 of an inch, 32nd of an inch. It could go even smaller. I'm not going there. This is a half scale. This is proof of concept. This is messing around. This is not anything that's going to be blown up into a workable design. And if it was, I'd be working off of real measurements, not the ones out of the book, something that matches. So I will go to 1/16 if I have to, but I'm not dropping any further than that. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. I'm not gonna do it. You can do it if you want. Was that bratty enough? Probably not. Anyhow, across the shoulder, how much distance from here to here? Not the length of the shoulder, just the distance from here, actually from here to here. Let's get that one right. How much distance from here to here? Across the shoulder length. And that is 7 1/4 on the full size, so 3 3/4 on my little half size, and that's from the top mark that we did, and 3/4, and dropping a line down as just a guideline for some of the later things that we're doing. Oh, waist. How far out are we doing our waist? Approximately. The math for that one is your bust arc, right? How big around, because that's going to be theoretically wider than your waist, plus 1/4 of an inch just to give it a little ease. That isn't really ease. For me, that is 9 1/4 for the bust arc, plus 1/4 of an inch for the ease. That gives me 9 1/2, which makes it 4 3/4 for my measurement. And yeah, I did the math ahead of time and I did it wrong. So what I'm trying to say is this particular draft may end up really, really special. We need our shoulder length, how long this actually is, because it's not that measurement from here to here. So how long is our shoulder length? That is going to be, oh, no, I don't want to do that measurement yet because I got to get where it starts. Where does the tip go? So this is going to be a across the body kind of an arc. They go from your shoulder tip to the base of center front. What would be kind of, yeah, the belly button. We'll call it the belly button. From here to the belly button. How much distance do we have to go? That measurement is going to tell us how far down the tip of the shoulder is from the neckline, from where the neck and the shoulder meets. Because most of us aren't going to be putting an L square on a person and hoping to get that measurement right. So that's what that one is. That's going to be 16 1/2 for this size 6 plus 1/8. So 16 5/8, and half scale 8 3/8 minus, I guess that would be 16, 6, 16, 5/16. So yeah, I'm not going there. We're just going to go with the 8 3. There we go. This is probably where I should confess that in my family, straight lines are kind of a challenge, shall we say. You think, hey, ruler, simple enough. But I gotta tell you, a huge portion of the time, we either end up with finger bumps along the straight line, or my straight line shifts as I'm going and it's not quite as straight as it should be. Yeah, it's a problem in the family. We'll say it's a family condition. Anyhow, that means usually once I'm doing drafting stuff, I go back and super duper double check everything to make sure that I haven't shifted my lines, because that would be bad for the final product. We'll get our depth here for the apex, which full size is 9 inches. So for me, that's 4.5. I can do that one. Now I can do the length of my shoulder because I have a starting point. I have where the tip of the shoulder blade, or excuse me, the tip of the shoulder length starts. So where that diagonal came up, and then from here to here, that's our length. What else do we need on this one? We're going to start with our darts. So I need, how far over does this dart start? This particular sloper is going to be one that has just one dart for the front of the bodice, and that one's going to the waist. I think the uber traditional ones are a waist and a bust, but once you have your basic sloper, you can alter it as much as you need. You can put in 20 darts or take in, you know how it goes, right? So I'm just going to go with the basic one because I can. Dart placement would be 3 inches. So for me, that's 1.5 inches. That measurement is supposed to drop down 3/16 of an inch. So I'm kind of sort of doing 1/16. Kind of sort of. One more. From the point where your neck and shoulder meets, we're going to draw a diagonal down to meeting the line that was at the base of your neck. So that if I just came in with this and said, well, hey, it touches here, it touches there, that's going to give me a very big neck opening, much bigger than it needs to be, especially for an eeny weeny size 6. So I would play with my curve until I found something that works. You are allowed to go over that line, but just by a little bit. And I know that I need that center front square for everything to work. We need to know where the underarm is. On a dress form, that's really easy. You just measure. But for humans, the arm gets in the way. So our way around this is we do the strap measurement. If you were going to do a halter, coming down and around here, so we do from where your neck and shoulder meets down to under your arm. In this case, for a full size, that's 9.5, and then we add 3/8 of an inch for ease, tiny bit of ease there, so that's 9 7/8, and half of that is 4 and, is that really 4 7/8? Yeah, almost 5 to almost 10, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go with 4 7/8. That's probably a little off, as I said, me and math, but that's what I'm going with. Strap length, where's the underarm? And now we can do the side seam length. Full size, 8 1/4. So for me, 4 1/8. Now the thing about this is it does not just travel in a straight line. It kicks out a little bit. On the full size, it kicks out, ooh, how far? On the full size, it comes 1 1/4 inch out from this side seam line that we've already drawn in. So for kind of in the middle of everything to 4 1/8. So that new diagonal line is going to be our side seam. And I know that we're going to put in the curve for the arm side. And just like with the center front, you need a little bit of a straight. You need a little bit of a straight on the underarm so that when you have your finished arm side, you get something like this instead of a point going into your armpit. So I'm going to square a line off of there, just enough to give me something to work off of for that curve. Bust span, I'm going to need a line squared off of where we added that in. The bust span is apex to apex. And when we're looking at bust span, bust arc, oh, there's a couple other names in there that I can't think of right now. You're looking at the boobage, right? How big or small do you have to deal with? How much do you have to accommodate? Extra material to add or take away? On most of the industry dress forms, you're looking at a B, maybe a C, but mostly you're looking at a B. So nice, firm, compact. It doesn't have a huge impact on most of what we are working with. You know, anything bigger than that, especially when you get into the gazanga size, you have to do a whole lot more to accommodate for coming out, around, and back in again. But at the moment, all I'm looking at is apex to apex, so from my center front line, how far over, and that's going to go past the point that I already put in on the diagonal. 3 1/2 plus 1/8 for ease, 1 7/8 for my finished. So slightly, where are we? Slightly set away from the apex towards your side seam. When we do the dart, we're going to drop it down slightly so that the darts don't come straight to your nipple and give you pointy boobs. So I've got how wide across here, how wide across at the base. I've got a bit of it going on with the boobs. I need an idea of where the arm side is because it does curve around. So that has you taking the measurement from the apex line up to where your base of your center front would be, and then dividing it by what? A third? Plus a little bit. I'm going to do 1 1/8 and 1/8 and 1/16. I don't want to hear any comments about my special math lack of skills. Square line over from there, and the actual measurement is an across the chest measurement plus 1/4 inch. I mean, that's 6 inches plus 1/4, 6 1/4, so half of that is 3 1/8. So that's going to be the side of the arm side. From shoulder tip to where that little part comes in, I'm going to give that a little more of a straight there. And from where that is to that squared off line at the bottom, going to give me, I wouldn't turn this in for a grade, that's for sure. It's a good thing I amuse myself. Dart. Okay, so we have the first portion of our dart that we already put in. I'm going to draw a straight line from the side seam mark to where that dart came in. That's just to give me something to work off of. The waist arc plus 1/4 inch minus your beginning dart leg, and that's going to give you your final measurement. From here to here, my dart. I'm going to start drawing it in lightly at first because it's going to change. I need to drop the apex of the dart now. In full size, that's dropping at 1/2 inch, so for me, 1/4 inch. And then I redraw the dart legs to that position. And that one comes in just slightly below the diagonal that we already drew, so that both of those dart legs are the same length. Temporary waistline, nice little with the hip curve. We'll get the finished waist. So theoretically, that is the front sloper for the bodice for a 1/2 scale, size 6 dress form. I love theory. Starting for my center back. Now, of course, for purists, this would be drafted on the other side of my front piece. But you know, that's the beautiful thing about doing it yourself. You can put it wherever you want on the paper. Once you cut it out, nobody's gonna know where you started. Right? Full length on this is 17 1/4. Again, that's coming up higher than what your neckline would do. So 1/2 of that is 8 5/8. So then the other one is 8 3/8. About there. Not a whole lot from the highest point to the base of the neckline opening. I need my width again. 7 3/4 for this full size one. So that brings me down to 3 5/8. And it would be the back arc, so the widest part of the back, plus 3/4 inch for ease-ish. Yeah, I hate calling it ease. Can you tell? Because it really isn't ease. It's just a little bit of space. Anyhow, so the back arc, 18 1/2 plus, not 18, 8 1/2 plus 3/4 gives me 9 1/4. So then that brings it down to, let's see, 4 1/2, 4 5/8. A little bit to work with. And there's all of our outside box type measurements for this. Moving on, we have another diagonal across the back. I think of it as the shoulder blade arc, because we have the bust arc, so shoulder blade arc is close enough for what we're doing. Yeah, like I said, that works in my brain to call it that. You can call it something else, but they called it the, what? Shoulder arc. So, shoulder blade arc. That's where I'm going. Shoulder slope. 16 1/4 plus an 1/8, 16 3/8. So we're going to do 8 1/8 plus. I'll give it another 16 there. That one. Shoulder length again. Now that we have where the tip comes in, we're going to do the shoulder length plus an additional 1/2 inch on a full size, 1/4 inch for me. So that's going to extend past the point that we just put in, which is fine. And that's what we need to do for the back of a shoulder. Back of the neck, 2 3/4 minus an 1/8, 2 5/8. So 1 1/4 plus. 1/4 plus, that's my name for 16. And 3/4. That is the new shoulder tip shoulder point, the new shoulder point. Back neck curve. So the waistline, that is 5 3/4 plus the 1.5" dart intake plus another 1/4 inch of ease, 6, 7.5, and then divide that in half. Yes, that is in from the outer measurement that we made, and it's supposed to be. I need where the dart starts. On a full size, that's 3 inches. So for this one, that's 1.5 inches. This point, which is our side seam waist point, needs to drop down a little bit. We need more of a curve going on. We need to match up to the front and everything. So it needs to drop down a little. On a full size, that's dropping down 3/16 of an inch. So for me, that's 1/16 and a tiny bit because I'm not going down to 30 seconds. There we go. Now I can do my side seam length, 8 1/4 for full size, so 4 1/8 for me. A little bit for the underarm again. What else do we need? I need to finish the dart. That is the length of our side seam minus 1 inch. So that was what, 8 1/4, which brings it down to 7 1/4. So then in half is 3 5/8. Okay, got the height of the dart. When you do the dart legs on a full size, it's from point to point. That's 1/8 of an inch. Which for me is 1/16 of an inch. So yeah, that's gonna be what it's gonna be. I need to know how far in my arm thigh is going to curve. And they give you really fun math for that one. You take your distance from the base up to the base of the neck opening, and you divide that by 4 in this instance. So that was, on a full size, that was 16 3/4. Divided by 4 gives me 4 so I'm gonna go with 4 1/8 plus. So for me, 2 1/16. I told you the numbers were gonna get gnarly. 2 1/8 will give it another 16. All right. And that distance is the across the back measurement that we took plus 3/8 of an inch, which is theoretically the ease for your shoulder blade. 6 3/4 plus 3/8 gives me 7 1/8, so 3 1/2 and a 16th is as close as it's going to get in my world. Which will work for now. This one does have a shoulder dart in the back. So we need to put that in, and that is half the length of our shoulder, and then it drops down. Shoulder length, 2 3/4, 1 3/8. The dart on the shoulder is only 1/2 inch, so for me, 1/4 of an inch. So I need 1/8 on either side of that. Why did I decide to do half scale? Why did I decide to do this to myself? Because I'm stubborn. And because, as always, but it'll be fabulous when it's done. An eighth and an eighth, and the dart is something like 3 inches long. So for me, 1.5 inches, and that needs to angle towards here. But for me, that's only 1.5 inches, which makes an absolutely eeny-weeny dart. That's off. I'd get in trouble for that. That definitely would not pass a grade. Better. I get in trouble for school for that one. I can just hear Miss Bell. Another case where the length of the dart leg is supposed to extend 1/8 of an inch past the shoulder line that we currently have. For me, 1/16 of an inch. I'm gonna do my best. I think we've done it. By George, I think she's got it. Okay, so we now have a front and back bodice sloper for a half-scale 6 dress. Why do I feel like Dr. Seuss? I do not like green eggs and ham. Okay, so we have the bodice, which of course I will need to cut out, look at the curves, make sure everything was square where it was supposed to be square, fold the darts so that I can cut the waistline and the shoulder line to get the little dart extra there. Folded the dart, pinned it, cupped it so you get an idea of what it's going to look like around the form, but now I can redraw and cut my waistline. Okay. I shorted myself when I cut it out, but that's okay. Okay, we got that much at least. And that looks like it's gonna work. And I should have pinned it. Okay, I will of course take a closer look later, but so far so good. The side seams match, the shoulder seams match. It's amazing. As long as we're here and this has actually worked, I I'm going to move on to the skirt because this only gets me to, you know, her belly button or thereabouts. I need over the hips. So we're going to try that next. Okay, I promise. For the skirt, we're going to make a nice little rectangle to draft out the front and the back of it together. Of course, the directions are always measure the length of your skirt. I have no idea how long we're going to do, so I'm just going to go a little past what the hip depth would be, and then I can do whatever from there. Did I need to do it that way? No, but I did. You know, let's just make life more complicated. All right, hip depth. So from the waistline to the widest portion of the hip on the full size would be 8.5 inches, so 4 1/4 down for me. Go. The depth, waist to hips. Hips? Sure, hips. Hips, depth, hips. Okay. No, there's nothing wrong with me at all. Why do you ask? Have you heard something? Okay, we need the width, which is another one of those. We're taking the hip measurement and we're adding a little bit of ease, just the tiniest skosh of ease, but it gives us something to draw everything off of. For the back, that is 9 inches plus, ooh, a whole 1/2 inch of ease. So 9.5, 4 3/4. Front, same thing. I need the front hip arc plus 1/2 inch, which gives me, did I do that wrong? Did I do the wrong ones? That's my depth. That's the back. No, I did it right. The back is 9.5, the front is 9. The center back drops slightly below the center front, so we have to put that measurement in. Center back waistline, waist arc, excuse me, plus 1/4 inch of ease. 5 3/4 plus 1/4, 6, 3 inches. Okay, I can do that one. Except that would be one hell of a hip. That would be, let's check this math again. I know what I did. I didn't add what we take out for the darts. That's what I did. So 5 3/4 plus 1/4 inch of ease plus 2 inches of dart intake. That gives me 8, and then half of that would be 4 inches. This makes much more sense. Oh God, I am dangerous. I should not be mathing. I should not. I should not. We're gonna do it anyway. What's the front, dare I ask? 6¼ plus a quarter gives me 6½ plus another inch, 7½, 3½, 3¾ Can that be? It could be. We shall see. It could be. We shall see. There we go. There's some Dr. Susie. Okay. Dart placement, which I know is 3 inches, which means for me, that's 1½. And then this one is, each of the darts is 1 inch. So for me, 1/2 inch. And it's 1¼ inch in between, which gives me 5/8. And then another, there we go. And that is my 2 darts on the back. On the front, again, but these are 1/2 inch, so for me 1/4 inch. And then 5/8. So the curve of the hip. The curve of the hip. We need dart length. On the back, the darts are longer to kind of accommodate for the tush. So on full scale, that's 5½ for me, that's 2 3/4. And once that's in, then I can draw in my legs. And of course, all of this is currently a straight line. That's never what it turns out to be on a reel, because people curve, but it's a good place to start. On the front, it's 3½ inches long for the dart, so 1 3/4. Said with such confidence. And then all I need is a temporary waistline, not waistband, because just like with the bodice, I won't have the final shape until I've pinned my darts and done all that good stuff. So temporary waistline shape. something like that. It'll be really interesting to try this on the dress form when I have it in front of me. But there we go. Again with the eeny weeny darts. Why did I do this to myself? Dun, da, da, da. So I will of course have to walk it and check it with everything pinned nicely, but that actually is looking pretty good, all things considered. Given how frightening me and math have been today, and the lack of brainage. All right, that one is substantially off. So I'll have to go back and look at the math and find out what I did wrong. But the front looks good. At a guess, when I drew out for the waistline on the bodice, probably, I did not account for the dart intake. I'm gonna bet that that's where I went wrong, because it does match nicely from center seam to the beginning of the dart leg on both the skirt and the bodice. So that's my guess. I will, of course, have to go back and see if I'm right. We'll say, of course, I'm right, because I'm brilliant. Or not so brilliant, as the case may be. But look! Half scale! Aren't they adorable? Little half scales. Okay. Onward. Oh my God, I was gonna draw the hip curve to the dart. I was gonna be really messed up. Oh, I should not be doing this. I should not be doing this. No, I shouldn't. Okay, we're gonna take a break. This is